Hey everybody. Hey peeps. I'm going to try to start using a little more camera in my videos because I noticed they're pretty boring with me droning on spreadsheets and PowerPoints. Um, Only problem being when I'm doing PowerPoint, I can't go back and look at other things. But in this video, I'm primarily going to look at DraftKings, the NFL Week 11 recap. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Thursday contest tomorrow, the big Thanksgiving contest, and Slate. Show what lineups won this week and ReignMakers, the results, how they've tended to trend, my buys and sells of cards, and my results, which there was a big one. But there's not going to be a ton of DFS in this video. I'm going to try to do another DFS one, definitely before the Sunday games, but also maybe talking about some of my principles and stuff. I wouldn't say I have some magic formula to winning big tournaments on DFS, but I'll go over some of that. Excuse me. The small cards here, or this here in the small deck thing means on ReignMakers, relates to ReignMakers what won this week, with a lot of people who only had a very small amount of cards. Just going back to the Thursday slate, which is the three big games on Thanksgiving tomorrow. Yesterday I did a video about the $1 million holiday contest on ReignMakers, so go back and review that if you're particularly interested in that. But also there are regular 5-man contests for tomorrow on ReignMakers on the different levels. There's no showdowns on the particular games themselves. Also, this is a week in the NFL with no buys. Everybody's playing. There's a Sunday night and Monday night showdown games. You can make deep starting with today or with Thursday that go through the Monday. And they do have a few of those booster pack contest, showdown contest ones, which I won a booster pack this week that turned out good. So those are one to consider apart from maybe a main showdown lineup, depending on how the competition is, because they were easier last week. Just real quick on the Thanksgiving games, because I did have a couple questions about this. You can look at my video yesterday, but the gist of it is, if you don't own Allen and Diggs, and you want to get in like this $1 million contest or even the 5-mans, this is pretty much based on projections from a premium site, and they could change by tomorrow. But the only way, based on where the prices of the flannel cards are, or even the core and rare, I'm pretty sure are, because Allen and Diggs are so expensive. The way to get around that, of course, it's your own risk. These lineups can be expensive, but it really sort of breaks down this way. Dak is the next quarterback in line, and then Goff and Cousins close. Daniel Jones is not in their projections currently. Running backs, Cook and Stevenson are close on the top tier. And then Jefferson, Lamb, and St. Brown. He's a superstar, so you can only use one of those. And the next group would be Goff and Cousins, Saquon, and actually Gabe Davis. And then the next group down would sort of be Pollard, not necessarily in this order, but sort of by positions, but Pollard, actually Schultz, and then sort of like Williams, Singletary, Jamal, and Myers, Hawkinson. So the issue is it's very weak in wide receivers and tight ends, especially if you don't own or aren't playing Allen Diggs. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like these guys, I actually wouldn't include Davis with this group, but he can come in. And I might actually include Pollard in this group. I'm not really sure why they have Pollard low. Why? Because he's had some monster weeks. And, it could be the game setup that, it could be various reasons. They expect Zeke to have more running, their matchup, DVP type thing. But this would be like an alternatives to build from if you wanted to try to get in the $1 million one, or even for the 5-mans, if you were buying cards and you didn't have any already or whatever. So something along this group right here, depending on what you have. And this would sort of be like the optimal or the highest projected. Okay, so just going to do the week 11 sort of recap on ReignMakers, try to go fairly quickly through this. The Week 11 core contest winner wins $5,000, came in at 157. No stack whatsoever. Not even the same game. This person only has 208 cards and a floor value of $1,000. So a small player on ReignMakers with not that many cards won 5,000. The rare one for 10,000 had a Burrow Higgins stack, and that's it. Very, completely different lineups. Hey, my dog's squeaking a toy. Hey, completely different lineups. Notice that this came in at 153, and they have a floor value of 13,000, but only 252 cards. So again, these are pretty small card collections, fairly concentrated, basically. Moving on to the big elite contest that pays $100,000. Now the cores has the most entries, but this is the biggest money contest every week. I can't see the total there, but I have it on the next screen. I think it's like 153. Or no, it's 150. Sorry, that's low. And then look down, 141, 134. So this person won. They had at least 5 entries, floor value of $34,000, but they again only have 306 cards. So what we're assuming is these people are pretty concentrated in the the top 1, 2, maybe 3 tiers of players. This one had a Carr Adams stack. So notice the different, either completely different stacks and almost completely different lineups. In general, on DFS this week and ReignMakers, it really wasn't a great quarterback wide receiver stack week, which is maybe why I came in on the tournament I did to some degree, because I was looking at Fields. I didn't really like Mooney with him that much, and then Lamar with Andrews, and then Hurts, and I tend to fade AJ Brown a bit because he's usually expensive, and he's like a hit or miss guy, kind of like Amari Cooper, who is cheap and who I did have, and he was cheap on salary and cost of cards. So Hurts could be played individually, Fields, and then Burrow, who I actually played individually because he really hasn't been super heavy going to Higgins. He's gone to all of them, including Mixon. So this week and maybe going forward, there may not be. I mean, obviously, if you're going to play Carr, you do want Adams with him. But the top quarterbacks pretty clearly, from what I played, were like the big 5 or whatever. Now Dak and Lamb was the one that I did like the stack on. And then, obviously in general though, there are stacks you want to use in ReignMakers. And on the DFS, I did have a running back in defense. Excuse me. So on the deep lineups, this one came in at 225 for the core, won $2,000, 4,000 floor value, 747 cards. So they have a lot more cards, but pretty low. Overall, fairly low floor price on their cards. They had Mahomes, Kelsey, a couple Dallas, kicker and D, Maher. He came in huge, and the Dallas D came in huge. Sure, I don't think there's any other stacks on there. And then on the deep, that won 3,000 also. And I believe that was a showdown game. So remember, we were talking about if you don't use your players in the showdowns, you can put them into the deeps. And I've been showing projections where they end up being high. But then again, the showdown's a 1-game contest, and you can win $1,000 or more on it. Let's see. I don't think they had any other stacks. Trying to go fairly quickly. The Elite Deep winner, which won $10,000, they only have 96 cards. So that was my point about the small hands won this week, or took the pots. Other weeks, there's been sort of trends of small fry, people with lesser account values winning. Other weeks, bigger accounts, whales have won. So this was 217. So they had the Fields outright. You notice how different the lineups are this week too that won. May have been because some of the chalk didn't come in as big. Kelsey at tight end, obviously, if you own him, is just far and above. And I sold my Kelsey a while ago. Excuse me. So then the point cutoffs for the lowest prize by my calculations. This should say week 11, sorry. they were down, so it was a lower scoring week. And on that elite in particular, what was that, 14 points easier to cash the minimum prize. 17 there, 13 there. Still needed 80s, but this was brutal last week. Week 10 with having to get 100 points. On the deeps, it wasn't quite the same. That went up a little bit, that went up, and that went up. And that may have to do with the showdown games. But only needing 100 on the core deep is not very much. I mean, it's much easier to get, I think, than getting 87. Of course, you only get $3 unless you do a bankroll booster or like a pack or a card prize one. So the winning core fiat, which again, this is the one that has the largest amount of entries. This came in at 157. You can see they pretty much all come in about 150 to 175-ish. In general, there were a couple outliers, but no stack the past 2 weeks, I believe, in terms of like a quarterback wide receiver type thing. On the rares, 153, they did have a Cincinnati stack, which notice the Bengals stack has come in 3 times this year, various combinations of it. So even though people, like Burrow was cheap last week on DFS, it's won 3 times on ReignMakers, rare as far as I can tell. On the this is the fiat too, the 5-man. On the elite, didn't have the first couple weeks of data, but that came in at 150, which is actually one of the lowest going back to the early. These generally do have a stack. Excuse me, man, I got a frog in my throat. Vegas came in this week on that. The core deeps, they didn't have it the first couple weeks, but usually 200 to 225, 230-ish, and usually some sort of combinations there. And remember also, same game. I don't know if you call it stack or whatever, but games that may be high scoring or you think are going to be high scoring or projected high scoring, without worrying as much about sort of matchups and DVP and run versus pass. Sometimes can work well. My results for DraftKings ReignMakers, and I'm a pretty small player. So this week I had, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 10 cashes, but it only added up to $72. But I also got a booster pack, not a prize card. So those go for 20. So $70, and there's still all these weeks left, plus the playoffs. That put me at about $13.35, plus a bunch of cards during the year. And I only put about 400 into ReignMakers to begin with, and I own a lot of cards. My fiats this week weren't good. I mean, I didn't break 100 on any of them, and I only cashed on 2 of them. But my deeps did well. Like all these cashed. I had a nice 143 rare deep that cashed 30. That wasn't that far. I mean, it could have been fairly close. 3 decent ones there that paid $3. And then I entered those bankroll ones on the core because they paid $5. And I'm like, well, this team's not going to win it, but maybe I can get $5 back. Hit 2 of those. And that was the core single entry. That was the momentum only one. That was easy to cash, obviously, if I cashed with 56 points. Then I did the deep booster, and I thought that was a decent team, but not one of my best, but it actually came in pretty high scoring, and so I won a booster pack. And then on a rare showdown, I had one of the best teams, but when the chalk comes in, it's hard to cash real high unless you have the chalk. I mean, I have done one showdown. I came in like 9th. I've had a couple good cashes, but they're pretty hard. It depends on who comes in. So that was 15, and then you could see my totals. This was the one really bad week, but generally they're around there. And then I had 3 good weeks. This should have been probably 500. That was very close to 1,500, and that one was just from a showdown. But still got time left in this. So my card buys and sells. Man, I cut off the corner here. I've been trying to unwind my cards in general, but I haven't been dumping them. But, a couple of weeks ago, I lowered all the limit prices on them because basically as soon as I buy a card or within a day or two, I put a limit price in to sell it. That's just how I am. I'm a trader. I'm a flipper by nature. And I'm sort of a bargain hunter. And as I mentioned, sometimes I get too much quantity over quality, but I have been focusing more on quality and on the rares. But this over the past week, I had bought CD Lambs and Dax, and both those sold. Virtually all the ones I sell generally are for profits, although there's been some recently where they haven't been because I wanted to get out of them. And like I said, I'm sort of trying to wind down the number of cards I have. I still have a lot of cards, and they may have some more carryover to next season than they're currently saying. But I sold Jamal Williams, Montgomery, and there's been times this year, if you go back and watch my previous videos, where people did buy ones up for me that blew up that week, which is what happens. I mean, that's why they bought them. They thought they were going to, blow up on DFS or just fancy points. And or in showdowns, and that can bite you sometimes. But in general, selling a core for 15 up is pretty good right now. Daniel Jones got bought out. The CD Lamb, Green Bay defense, Montgomery, Jamal Williams. And this is since then. Most of these were earlier. Sutton got bought out, and Slayton, Schultz, McKenzie, Akers, and Hilliard. I didn't even realize. I don't usually list them for $1, but sometimes I basically been listing them, some of these for the floor. Where did I buy it? A Jamar Chase. This was about a week ago. Foreman, rare, because sort of have to replace things sometimes. Amari Cooper, that worked out well. Buffalo kicker. Sanders on Philly. I believe that was for a showdown. And then you can use it for a showdown again this week, but don't love him. Kmet. Always sort of need tight ends, kickers, sometimes in defenses for the deeps. Paris Campbell, Nico Collins. Matt Ryan, who is usable this week in a showdown. He's very cheap. And I just looked at the projections, and he actually is one of the highest in that game. And then I got a booster pack. So this only adds up to about $50 spent. I can't see the information here. So this is what I've been doing. I've been selling more than I've been buying every week lately. But the free booster pack was really nice because I got a Trevor Siemian, number 1, and I was about to dump that for $1, and then I saw Fields is hurt. So could be, it is what it is, but it's a backup quarterback who may start, and definitely just wouldn't want to sell it for $1. I think I put, not $10 in on it maybe. But the cool thing was I got a rare, and it turned out to be Devontae Adams. So that's a good rare. The only funny thing is I own more Devontae Adams now than any other good player. And he did have a big week last week, but I own 5 of them, I think, and 2 rares. And I tend to split my cards up a lot. Same thing with my DFS entries. I tend to try a lot of things and do a lot of combinations. And I don't like being so concentrated in just a few players or just a few players and just a few lineups type thing. But I do have 5 of him now. So, and he is a superstar, which is a little bit of an issue for flexibility. And then I made a video about this, but this one got cut off. I'm not used to having the camera in the corner. But yeah, I won 100 grand this week. I finished first on a DFS out of 395,000 entries. I had the full 20 entries into this. So I had like $60 into this, and I probably had another 40 entries on DraftKings, a few on FanDuel because I actually didn't have much of my account on there. But that's by far the biggest win I've ever had. I had a $2,000 cash earlier this season, and I know I've had a $5,000 one in the past and things like that, but that's a big one. And so, I'll be doing some more. I'm going to do another video about my DFS strategy and things I do. I'm not saying I'm not saying I can give you a guaranteed formula to win a big GPP, but nobody really can. I can just maybe give some principles that I like to do that type of thing, which may be slightly different or slightly contrarian from some people's normal advice. This lineup it did have a Pollard Cowboys stack, running back defense, but it had Burrow by himself. Najee Harris in the same game. Pitts and Montgomery in the same game. Cooper, Slayton, and Sutton. So pretty amazing. If you watch my other video, I talk about it, how it all went down in like the last 15, 30 minutes and was extremely exciting, and it all has to fall your way. And I did withdraw quite a bit of that already because I am going to step up my play, but not by a whole lot. I'm not comfortable at this point with DFS doing those huge contests. Um, so I'll step it up a bit to larger entry fees, but not an insane amount, and I don't want to lose it all back. So I took out quite a bit of it. And I know I'll have to pay taxes on it and all that. And like I said, if you go back and watch some of my original videos, I've been a trader for a long time, and I've been doing DFS and poker and all that stuff for a long time as well. And I've had ups and downs. I mean, there's been times I made tons of money. I made a ton of money as a trader in Chicago during the internet bubble in the late 90s, early 2000s. Also traded in London, England. But then I burned out pretty hard on that. Burned out too quickly, to be honest with you, because I could have milked that for a few more years and been extremely set up. And I've been doing DFS for quite a while now. And but the last couple of years I didn't do it that much because of COVID and just not wanting to lose money, I guess, to some degree. COVID burned me out on sports for a while because no fans and everything else, and just the general state of the world was really annoying me. But I'll try to do another one coming up soon. So this is more just a recap of what happened on the last ReignMakers and a little bit about the Thursday Thanksgiving contests. And again, I always appreciate you guys and gals liking my videos, watching them, subscribing and commenting. Appreciate it. Get a lot of nice comments. My referral code on DraftKings is there. I'm also on SoRare, which does have football, soccer, NBA now, and MLB, and that's pretty fun. It offers prizes, but not as good as ReignMakers. ReignMakers has big prizes. But it does have good prizes, and the market is very active there for cards. The NBA one I've been doing well in just off the bat on that, and I haven't put any money in. I was using money that I put into the football a while back, and now I'm starting to get a decent lineup, and they have a World Cup. I'm also on Dapper under that username. All right, thanks a lot, and good luck on the Thursday slate, especially if you decide to play the big $1 million flannel game. Just keep an eye on the number of entries. I think it was up to 11 or 1200 last time I looked, but it pays 2200 spots. And you can go back and watch my video yesterday. I think the chalk lineup was about 1500 if you were buying it flat out, not buying any packs, or if you don't own any. And I think the sort of secondary lineups were more like 1000, 800 to 1000. And if you fit the lowest threshold, you get back like 200, and the next one's 300. But of course, the cards are going to go way down to like normal card prices after this. For the flannels, the sweaters are usable in a Christmas contest, and possibly other things. So it's a big thing. I'm possibly may enter it, but right now I'm not planning on entering it. But I have entered the Thanksgiving contest, and I'm working on my showdown slates and all that for ReignMakers. I haven't done the DFS yet. I like to wait a little closer to Sunday for that. All right, appreciate it. Have a good one. Talk to you later.